current data of controller settings and sensor measurements are shown on the main page. On the LED strip settings page, you need to set the type of addressable LED strip you are using, select the color channel order of your LED strip, and specify the total number of pixels on your LED strip. When changing some parameters, the controller will reboot and you will need to connect to it again. On this page it is possible to reset the controller settings to the default factory settings. On the sensor settings page, set the distance between the main and slave sensors. On the brightness sensor settings page, set whether you need to use this sensor, the brightness threshold for switching on day-night modes. You want to use the adaptive brightness and the brightness level in full darkness for the adaptive mode in the working and hot modes. If the current brightness is below the set lighting threshold, the controller is in night mode and the lighting works. If the illumination is higher than the established threshold, the controller switches to day mode and the illumination does not turn on. The indicator LED 1 will light up on the controller. Also, you can activate the adaptive brightness mode by specifying the maximum brightness level in the dark for the working and waiting modes. When it is light, the brightness will be increased to the brightness level of the selected working or waiting mode, and in the dark it will be lowered to the values specified in the adaptive brightness settings. Setting up standby modes. These settings allow you to choose one of 10 modes or turn off the backlight in standby mode. For each mode, you can select a color from the standard samples or customize your color of any shade. You can also select the rainbow color mode. In this mode, the preset static color will not be used, but the color will dynamically change along the rainbow color wheel. In this settings menu, you can set the maximum brightness of the effect and its speed. Do not forget to click the Save button after making changes. The Comet with Sparks effect also supports static color and rainbow effect. Allows you to change the brightness and speed, compatible with the adaptive brightness mode like other effects. The Starry Sky effect supports static color and rainbow effect. It looks like stars twinkling in the sky at night. The wave effect resembles a light wave running along the entire LED strip. It looks great both in static color and with a rainbow effect. Adjust the brightness correctly. If the brightness is too low, the effect may not correspond to the idea put into it. The twinkle effect is similar to the Starry Sky but has fewer glowing sparkles and moves along the length of the strip. The running spark effect shows a spark running from the beginning of the tape to its end. Especially beautiful with the rainbow effect. The Cinelon effect shows a running wave with a fading end from one end of the LED strip to the other and back. The effect looks great with the rainbow effect, supports all brightness and speed modes. An effect with the first 3 pixels and the last 3 pixels on the LED strip statically turned on to indicate the entrance and exit in the dark. Looks especially interesting with the rainbow effect. Or you can turn off the backlight completely in standby mode by selecting off. Let's move on to the operating mode settings. You can choose one of 5 available on/off modes when the laser distance sensor is triggered. The direct on-reverse off mode turns on the sensors from the triggered sensor to the opposite one. Switching off is done in the opposite direction. All operating modes support speed control and brightness adjustment, and also support adaptive brightness. When both sensors are triggered, switching on is done towards each other. Switching off occurs from the last triggered sensor. Direct on/off effect. The LED strip is turned on from the triggered sensor to the opposite one. It is turned off in the same direction after the waiting time has elapsed. Pay attention to the waiting time parameter. This parameter determines how long the LEDs will be on after the on cycle is completed and before the off cycle begins. The parameter is set in units, 1 unit equals 5 seconds. If any of the sensors is triggered during this time, the timer will restart and the countdown will start from the beginning. Pay attention to the waiting time parameter. This parameter determines how long the LEDs will be on after the on cycle is completed and before the off cycle begins. The parameter is set in units, 1 unit equals 5 seconds. If any of the sensors is triggered during this time, the timer will restart and the countdown will start from the beginning. Try rainbow mode. If you want laconic simplicity, there is a full-on mode. When the entire LED strip lights up at the same time and also smoothly goes out.
Have you already noticed that during the operating mode, the indicator LED 1 lights up? Yes, that's right. That's what happens. You can read more about the LED indication modes in the user manual.
The comet mode creates the effect of a flying comet, which leaves a sparkling trail behind it. The comet's tail fades out smoothly when the time is up. The effect looks great both in static color and in rainbow dynamics.